Poems, Series 1, by Emily Dickinson. Part 3, Nature. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Part 3, Nature. 1. New feet within my garden go, new fingers stir the sod, a troubadour upon the elm betrays the solitude. New children play upon the green, new weary sleep below, and still the pensive spring returns, and still the punctual snow. 2. Mayflower. Pink, small, and punctual, aromatic, low, covert in April, candid in May, dear to the moss, known by the knoll, next to the robin in every human soul, bold little beauty, bedecked with thee, nature forswears antiquity. 3. Why? The murmur of a bee, a witchcraft yieldeth me. If any ask me why, 'twere easier to die than tell. The red upon the hill taketh away my will. If anybody smear, take care, for God is here. That's all. The breaking of the day addeth to my degree. If any ask me how artist drew me so, must tell. 4. Perhaps you'd like to buy a flower, but I could never sell. If you would like to borrow until the daffodil unties her yellow bonnet beneath the village door, until the bees from the clover rows their hock and sherry draw, why, I will lend until just then, but not an hour more. 5. The pedigree of honey does not concern the bee. A clover any time to him is aristocracy. 6. A service of song. Some keep the Sabbath going to church. I keep it staying at home, with a bobolink for a chorister and an orchid for a dome. Some keep the Sabbath in surplice. I just wear my wings, and instead of tolling the bell for church, our little sexton sings. God preaches, a noted clergyman, and the sermon is never long. So instead of getting to heaven at last, I'm going all along. 7. The bee is not afraid of me. I know the butterfly. The pretty people in the woods receive me cordially. The brooks laugh louder when I come. The breezes madder play. Wherefore, mine eyes, thy silver miss? Wherefore, O summer's day? 8. Summer's armies. Some rainbow coming from the fair, some vision of the world Cashmere, I confidently see, or else a peacock's purple train, feather by feather, on the plain fritters itself away. The dreamy butterflies bestir, lethargic pools resume the whir of last year's sundered tune. From some old fortress on the sun, baronial bees march one by one, in murmuring platoon. The robins stand as thick to-day as flakes of snow stood yesterday, on fence and roof and twig. The orchis binds her feather on for her old love, Dawn, the sun, revisiting the bog. Without commander, countless, still, the regiment of wood and hill, the bright detachment stand. Behold! What multitudes are these? The children of whose turbaned seas, or what Circassian land? 9. The grass. The grass a little has to do, a sphere of simple green, with only butterflies to brood, and bees to entertain, and stir all day to pretty tunes the breezes fetch along, and hold the sunshine in its lap, and bow to everything, and thread the dews all night like pearls, and make itself so fine a duchess were too common for such a noticing. And even when it dies, to pass in odors so divine as lowly spices gone to sleep, or amulets of pine, and then to dwell in sovereign barns, and dream the days away. The grass a little has to do, I wish I were the hay. 10. A little road not made of man, enabled of the eye, accessible to thill of bee, or cart of butterfly. If town it have, beyond itself, 'tis that I cannot say, I only sigh. No vehicle bears me along that way. 11. Summer shower. A drop fell on the apple tree, another on the roof, a half-dozen kissed the eaves, and made the gables laugh. A few went out to help the brook, that went to help the sea. Myself conjectured, were they pearls, what necklaces could be. The dust replaced in hoisted roads, the birds jocuser sung, and sunshine threw his hat away, the orchids spangles hung. The breezes brought dejected lutes, and bathed them in the glee. The east put out a single flag, and signed the fete away. 12. Psalm of the Day. A something in a summer's day, as slow her flambeaux burn away, which solemnizes me. A something in a summer's noon, an azure debt, the wordless tune, a transcending ecstasy. And still within a summer's night, a something so transporting bright, I clap my hands to see. Then veil my too inspecting face, lest such a subtle, shimmering grace flutter too far from me. The wizard fingers never rest, the purple brook within the breast still chafes its narrow bed, still rears the east her amber flag, guides still the sun along the crag, his caravan of red, like flowers that heard the tale of dews, but never deemed the dripping prize awaiting their low brows. Or bees that thought the summer's name some rumor of delirium, no summer could for them. Or arctic creatures, dimly stirred by tropic hint, some travelled bird importing to the wood. Or wind's bright signal to the ear, making that homely and severe contented known before. The heavenly unexpected came to lives that thought their worshipping a too presumptuous psalm. 13. A sea of sunset. This is the land the sunset washes. These are the banks of the yellow sea, where it rose or whither it rushes. These are the western mystery. Night after night her purple traffic strews the landing with opal bales. Merchantmen poise upon horizons, dip and vanish with fairy snails. 14. Purple clover. There is a flower that bees prefer and butterflies desire. To gain the purple democrat the humming-birds aspire. And whatsoever insect pass, a honey bears away, proportioned to his several dearth and her capacity. Her face is rounder than the moon, and ruddier than the gown of orchis in the pasture, or rhododendron worn. She doth not wait for June, before the world is green. Her sturdy little countenance against the wind is seen, contending with the grass, near kinsman herself, for privilege of sod and sun. Sweet litigants for life, and when the hills are full, and never fashions blow, doth but retract a single spice for pang of jealousy. Her public is the noon, her providence the sun, her progress by the bee proclaimed in sovereign, swerveless tune. The bravest of the host, surrendering the last, nor even of defeat aware, when cancelled by the frost. 15. The bee. Like trains of cars on tracks of plush, I hear the level bee. Ajar across the flowers goes their velvet masonry, withstands until a sweet assault their chivalry consumes, while he, victorious, tilts away to vanquish other blooms. His feet are shod with gauze, his helmet is of gold, his breast a single onyx, with chrysoprase inlaid. His labor is a chant, his idleness a tune. Oh, for a bee's experience of clover and of noon! 16. Presentiment is that long shadow on the lawn, indicative that suns go down. The notice to the startled grass that darkness is about to pass. 17. As children bid the guest good night, and then reluctant turn, my flowers raise their pretty lips, then put their nightgowns on. As children caper when they wake, merry that it is morn, My flowers from 100 cribs will peep and prance again. 18. Angels in the early morning may be seen the dews among, stooping, plucking, smiling, flying, to the buds to them belong. Angels, when the sun is hottest, may be seen the sands among, stooping, plucking, sighing, flying, parch the flowers they bear along. 19. So bashful when I spied her, so pretty, so ashamed, so hidden in her leaflets lest anybody find, so breathless till I passed her, so breathless when I turned and bore her struggling, blushing, her simple haunts beyond. For whom I robbed the dingle, for whom I betrayed the dell, many will doubtless ask me, but I shall never tell. 20. Two worlds. It makes no difference abroad, the seasons fit the same, the mornings blossom into noons and split their pods of flame. Wild flowers kindle in the woods, the brooks brag all the day. No blackbird bates his jargoning for passing cavalry. Auto da fe and judgment are nothing to the bee. His separation from his rose to him seems misery. 21. The mountain. The mountain sat upon the plain, in his eternal chair, his observations omnifold, his inquest everywhere. The seasons prayed around his knees, like children round a sire. Grandfather of the days is he, of dawn the ancestor. 22. A day. I'll tell you how the sun rose, a ribbon at a time. The steeples swam in amethyst, the news like squirrels ran. The hills untied their bonnets, the bobolinks begun. Then I said softly to myself, that must have been the sun. But how he set, I know not. There seemed a purple stile, which little yellow boys and girls were climbing all the while, till when they reached the other side, a dominie in gray put gently up the evening bars and led the flock away. 23. A butterfly's assumption gown in chrysoprase apartments hung, this afternoon put on. How condescending to descend and be of buttercups the friend in a New England town. 24. The wind. Of all the sounds dispatched around, there's not a charge to me like that old measure in the boughs, that phraseless melody. The wind does, working like a hand whose fingers brush the sky, then quiver down, with tufts of tune permitted gods and me. When winds go round and round in bands and thrum upon the door, and birds take places overhead to bear them orchestra, I crave him grace of summer boughs. If such an outcast be, he never heard that fleshless chant rise solemn in the tree. As if some caravan of sound, on deserts in the sky, had broken rank, then knit and passed in seamless company. 25. Death and life. Apparently with no surprise to any happy flower, the frost beheads it at its play in accidental power. The blond assassin passes on, the sun proceeds unmoved to measure off another day for an approving God. 26. 'Twas later when the summer went than when the cricket came, and yet we knew that gentle clock meant naught but going home. 'Twas sooner when the cricket went than when the winter came, yet that pathetic pendulum keeps esoteric time. 27. Indian summers. These are the days when birds come back, a very few, a bird or two, to take a backward look. These are the days when skies put on the old sophistries of June, a blue and gold mistake. O fraud that cannot cheat the bee! Almost thy plausibility induces my belief, till ranks of seeds their witness bear, and softly through the altered air hurries a timid leaf. O sacrament of summer days! O last communion in the haze, permit a child to join thy sacred emblems to partake, thy consecrate bread to break, taste thine immortal wine. 28. Autumn. The morns are meeker than they were, the nuts are getting brown, the berry's cheek is plumper, the rose is out of town. The maple wears a gayer scarf, the field a scarlet gown. Lest I should be old-fashioned, I'll put a trinket on. 29. Beclouded. The sky is low, the clouds are mean. A travelling flake of snow across a barn or through a rut debates if it will go. A narrow wind complains all day how some one treated him. Nature, like us, is sometimes caught without her diadem. 30. The hemlock. I think the hemlock likes to stand upon a marge of snow. It suits his own austerity, and satisfies an awe that men must slake in wilderness or in the desert cloy, an instinct for the ore, the bald Lapland's necessity. The hemlock's nature thrives on cold, the gnash of northern winds is sweetest nutriment to him, his best Norwegian wines. To satin races he is naught, but children on the dawn beneath his tabernacles play, and Dnieper wrestlers run. 31. There's a certain slant of light on winter afternoons that oppresses like the weight of cathedral tunes. Heavenly hurt it gives us, we can find no scar, but internal difference where the meanings are. None may teach it anything, 'tis the seal, despair, an imperial affliction sent us of the air. When it comes, the landscape listens, shadows hold their breath when it goes, 'tis like the distance on the look of death. End of Part 3. Nature. Of Poems, Series 1, by Emily Dickinson.